Hey, what is up, guys? It is Harrison Barron, the Millennial Entrepreneur, and thank you guys so much for checking out my channel. Now, this is a little different than what you guys have normally seen. However, I have my handy-dandy whiteboard, and I kind of want to draw out some things. So in today's video, I want to talk to you guys about how I turned my podcast, which makes no money, into a six-figure business. I started a podcast 3 years ago, and I didn't really know what I wanted. I knew the style that I liked. I liked Joe Rogan's style. I liked what he kind of did as far as talking to different people and getting different perspectives and things like that. But I said, I didn't even plan on it being a business. I planned on it as a way to generate more sales for my old company. I figured somebody's got to come in, they got to, jump on the podcast, and then they'll see the whole place, and that'll ultimately make the sale. Well, fast forward 3 years, and now I've turned my podcast into a six-figure business. And the funniest part is my podcast does not actually generate any money by itself. So you might be thinking, Harrison, what could you possibly teach me? It is the single greatest lead generator I've ever done. It's better than a blog. It's better than my ads that I've ran and stuff like that. So if you're local, this is going to work really, really well. So if you're a coffee shop, if you're a sandwich shop, if you're a brick and mortar store, a clothing store, whatever it is, this is a phenomenal, phenomenal tool. Heck, even if you're in the B2B space and you're doing business locally, this is a great way to get your ideal customer in the door. Now, on the flip side of things, this doesn't mean it's not going to work over Zoom. It's going to be a little harder to develop a long-lasting relationship. Now, let me give you guys some keys and facts before I get into how I did this whole process. 1, my podcast is an hour and a half long. 2, people have to come to the studio to be on the show. I really don't do anything over Zoom. It's very far and few between. Only if I really want that guest and I think they're going to add crazy value. I think Zoom quality is just not as good as in person, and I'm going to give you guys a whole studio tour in a future video. But what I did on my podcast to make a lot of money is exactly this. So the first thing I did was find my guests, right? And I'm going to write all this up here because I think it's pretty important. Now, I apologize for my handwriting. It's not that good, but the most important thing was guests. I needed good guests. If I didn't have good guests, I could be kind of screwed. The cool part is if I took my guests and I went through a show with them, I built this. I built trust. Now, if you're in sales, it's pretty common for people to say, people buy from people they know, like, and trust. So if they're a guest, I already know them. After my show, they're going to trust me. After being with me for an hour and a half, they're going to know me pretty well. So my podcast is more of a Joe Rogan type thing where we talk about a variety of different things, right? But you might be thinking, Harrison, how does guests and trust turn into sales? Well, I didn't really want to do business with my guests. I don't like to do business with my friends. It's great and it can be great, and if customers become friends, then great. But I try to keep my personal life and my business life a little bit separate in a lot of ways. But the cool part is because they know, like, and trust me, they're going to give me referrals. Referrals is where you get to make the money. Now, the cool part about referrals and guests is referrals and guests actually gave me the access to people that would have never hopped on a phone call with me ever in a previous lifetime. The reason is because they got to know, like, and trust me. They knew that I was a good person. I invited them on the show. I added value first. And because I did all of these things, it immediately helps skyrocket my business. So really the process kind of looks like this. Boom, just like that, movie magic. So I would have a guest on. They would come on the show. From there, they would learn about me, and they would trust me, right? And those guests, because they had a good time on my show, right? I added value to them. They invited more guests. Hey, I would always leave every show. Do you know somebody that would be a good guest for my show? Absolutely, I got this guy, this girl, whatever it may be, right? Well, that worked out really, really well. Actually, better than I thought it would be. Because during my show, I actually didn't sell them anything. I didn't try to sell them on anything. I just wanted to make sure I had a really good time with them. And because those guests introduced me to more guests, right, and those more guests were different people that I probably wouldn't have had access to, those guests then started giving me referrals. So in turn, this guest turns into a referral. Now, not every single person I've had on my show has turned into referrals. I did my show because I really enjoyed it. It was a great time. I had a blast doing what I do and still speaking to people and things like that and taking an hour and a half out of my day, and typically it's a little longer than that, but I get to share a really great hour and a half with them. That builds that learning about me, that trust, and they get to know me because they've been with me for a while. Some of my podcasts might have only been 2 hours on a longer show, but that guest might have hung out for an extra hour or two just talking to me about this, that, and the other thing, right? There's certain things that people can't announce publicly, and those were some of the cool stories that they got to share. And they got to learn and trust me and get to know me a little more. And those guests refer more referrals, right? That's just how it works. And this whole loop just keeps going around and around, right? More guests goes up here, right? Those guests then come on the show. They get to learn about me. They get to trust me. Then they invite other guests on. And some of those people keep bring in referrals. Now, I can't tell you how many referrals I've actually gotten from my podcast, but let me tell you, it's a six-figure income for not only my business now, but it's brought in hundreds of thousands of dollars to my old company just because of my podcast. So if you don't know, hey, my podcast isn't generating money, think about your podcast a little differently. Don't think about a way to make money on your podcast. Granted, there's affiliates and how to grow and things like that. And this was all by mistake. Right, there was no secret sauce on me making the six figures. This was purely stumbled upon. I didn't even realize how good of a lead generator this could possibly be. But just because I invited guests, I had them on the show, they get to learn about me and trust me. Those guests invited more guests. And then eventually, hey, I know somebody that needs digital marketing. Perfect. Hey, call me up. I'd love to help. Things like that. And it began a snowballing effect of making more money. So at the end of the day, it's not necessarily what podcast you're going to have. But if you're interested in doing a podcast and you want to make money for your business, by all means, it's a great alternative. Invite them on. Add value to them. Hey, come on down to my coffee shop. Come on down to my sandwich shop. Come on down to my clothing store. Whatever it may be. Come on down to my music studio. Whatever it is. Invite them down. Have them on your show. Hang out with them. Become friends with them. I talk to a lot of my guests on a regular basis. Not all of them. I can't stay in touch with everybody. Out of 130 shows, I've probably had about 120 new guests, right? That's super hard, but I'm still friendly with all of them. And one of my first ever podcasts called me a couple weeks ago asking me a tech question, right? And I was able to answer it and help them along. But we caught up, what I've been doing, what he's been doing, and our lives have totally changed, and we're looking to reconnect again. Now, is that going to turn into a referral? Maybe, maybe not. But either way, that's just a potential way for either new business to come about or to rekindle a new friendship. And he'll become a guest again, and he'll come on the show again. He'll learn a bit more about me. Begin to trust me. He'll invite other friends to come on my show. And then ultimately, I'll get referrals out of it. It's just a passive thing. And some referrals, for me, referrals worth a lot of money. So I don't know what business you're in and what it may be, but any money is good money. So why not take it? Especially because it came to you. So this is how I turned my podcast into six figures. I hope this video helps. I'll see you guys later. Till next time.